Hey guys, so welcome back to another episode of the Impact Podcast. We have your three hosts. I'm Alexis Carrera. I'm from Michigan. We have Jess Taylor. She's from North Carolina. And we have Ryan C. Bostwick from Michigan as well. Today, our amazing guest is Renee Jadan. She's from Michigan as well. She's a mom. She's a wife. You guys, this woman is absolutely incredible. The conversations that we've had, the amount of background that you have in retail is incredible, which I can relate to as well. And for just a few short months, 12 transactions, closed deals.
Yeah,
it's
incredible.
6 months, and you had $1 million listing that you received and you earned from a cold call. I have so many questions. This is just absolutely insane. You are taking the world by storm. You were boss babe times 100, and I am so impressed and so glad you're here with us.
Oh my gosh, thank you guys so much. I can't tell you, my face is completely red. You can't tell just by everything right now. Thank you so much for just the opportunity to get on this podcast today and be able to share my story. I know there's many people out there that have been thinking about real estate, or it crossed their mind. They're not sure what's happening. Will I be successful? So getting this time with you guys was such a compliment and such a great opportunity to share my story, not to toot my horn, but just to be able to share that anything can be done when you put your mind to it. Mm-hmm. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see, what questions you guys have for me. I
know a little bit. Oh, what are you drinking, by the way? What are we having?
So I have to share, because I think I posted this before, but I'm not a wine snob yet, but I think I'm kind of like that. Yeah, I'm actually kind of at the beginning stages, but cake bread, if anyone knows me, is my favorite, and it's actually a Chardonnay. So I've got my glass here. What are you guys drinking?
I'm drinking wine as well. I'm drinking Quilt.
I have an IPA.
It's a red. Beer.
I was drinking all day, so I'm trying to wind down now.
Hey, that's not fair. We need to make sure that you have a glass the next time around.
Right. Right. You got a head start of us, and you need to be drinking on the podcast. Okay. So.
Well, shoot, I can go grab something.
Go ahead. You should. You should be cheersing with us, because this is what it's all about. It's about unwinding in the day, even though Ryan unwinded throughout the day. That's okay, too. Welcome to the world of being a realtor.
Seriously.
So it's all networking. You can write.
Yes, absolutely.
So Renee and I connected on a very strange occurrence, and it's been great. I've seen you in the Mark Z office multiple times. And for those of you who don't know who Mark Z is, it's an incredible #1 producing real estate team in the entire state of Michigan. They're top producers. What they do is incredible. So because of EXP, we're all in the same downline, and I have access to that office. So I'll pop in every once in a while and get in on some trainings and just change of environment and everything. And I've seen Renee multiple times, but we've never chatted. So we were always just doing something, right? Which is crazy. And we ended up talking, and she told me her story, and it was absolutely incredible. So I actually want to give an opportunity to our viewers to get an understanding of where you came from, what your background was, and really, truly why that made you as successful as you are right out of the gate. You hit the ground running, which is insane. And what got you involved in real estate? So let's start there.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks so much. Okay. So back in, if anyone knows me, they know a lot of times in Michigan, a lot of people have gotten a chance to get to know me. So I started with a realtor, and you guys probably have been there. You've been customers at Nordstrom, that department store. So I have to tell you that, my story about, I was going to school, I was going to go to college, and I went in and I probably finished about 2 years. And I had to work, I had to make money. And that was important. We weren't super wealthy, but, we were always given everything that our parents gave us everything. In fact, it was more important for them to give us everything than it was for us to maybe, have some sort of huge college fund, because they were all immigrants here from Iraq. So when I started, I, worked really hard to find a job, and I worked at Nordstrom. I was 18 years old. I applied at Nordstrom, and I had learned about it just in school, of being a Fortune 100 company at the time. I know people say Fortune 500, but it was actually, it's the top 100 retailers to work for. And their number one thing was customer service. And I remember thinking, gosh, when I turned 18, like that's where I want to work. And I can't tell you that what I know today, I probably would never know had I not gone to the school of Nordstrom. They teach you everything from the moment from the customer experience to the experience of, working on a team, teaching you what it feels like to win, what it feels like to lose, developing. So needless to say, within that position, I held several leadership roles. And, I didn't, we all get in these situations where you fail. And when you fail at something, it's like you never want that feeling again. Mm-hmm. So in one of my positions, several of my positions, I didn't always do the greatest job. So knowing what that felt like, you always pick yourself up and you want to move, harder, and you want to move better, and you want to improve on yourself. So when leadership positions started to come around, I was always tapped on the shoulder for a position because of my resume. So that was a really, really, really great compliment. And as I started moving, what we call at Nordstrom, we called it the inverted pyramid, where you moved down the ladder, which means that our customer was first and our leadership teams were at the bottom. So that taught me a lot about being humble, showing humility, really being able to help one another. And I spent almost, 22 years at Nordstrom just in my overall experience. After that, I was actually recruited to work for the Henry Ford Museum. So nonprofit organization, people are like, oh my God, you went to go work for Nordstrom and you're all the way over here. What a difference. Why'd you make that move? Well, I worked for a company called Event Network, and they're basically a partner to historicals, botanicals, and museums and basically they're essentially retail shops. So most people would say, do you run a souvenir shop? Mostly yes, but super expensive. Yeah, it's a souvenir shop, but it was six locations. We had, 2 store directors, and there was over 75 employees across the property. So that role actually was really cool because you were a partner to the Henry Ford. So part of that was to sit on the senior management team, and you had to really play a big role in understanding that business so that you could select some of this product that mirrors their mission and vision. And then after that, I was recruited by Saks Fifth Avenue to run their designer and $1 Million Club. And that was a phenomenal experience. Yeah. So if you think about, the top elite clients in Michigan, those are the people shopping in the club. And you're wondering, what's the club? So
we need to get back into their email system and get a hold of those people.
Oh, right. We need to sell them homes. We need to find out where they're moving next.
Right.
Yeah. Agreed. Yeah. So, I mean, you guys have to, the things that we did there was incredible. I mean, from wardrobing people to their husbands, their families, their yachts, their homes. We had, I had about 7 people in the $1 Million Club, and really, really high sellers that did a phenomenal job that are still there, that we're friends with. And then ran the designer department, and I got to run really cool events like Chanel, Valentino, Fendi. And what was cool about all those things is that they were really cool places like 220 in Birmingham, or,
fun.
Yeah. So can you imagine, you sit there and you're having this fabulous lunch on a freaking afternoon and drinking wine, and this is a job. You're getting paid for this.
Yeah.
Love life.
But all you did was really leveled up everything, and you're doing the same thing now as a realtor, which is so much better because now you're running your own business.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So
I mean, look at how much far you came. You've grown so much. I mean, it's incredible. I love your story, but keep going. So this is just amazing.
It's so fun. And, like meeting these clients, you're obviously dealing with a sophisticated customer. It's a different client. It's just a different conversation. a lot of times what you hear of, if people weren't in this world, it feels like a movie, you know, and it's pretty cool. And I've considered myself very lucky. The great part about all that is when somebody gave me a challenge, it was a challenge. And once you give me a challenge, I will not disappoint you. So when we ran the Chanel boutique, we ran the #1 increase in history at that store, just in terms of sales and percentage of increase. And we did that through client connecting, right? So I'm only mentioning these things because all of this is like the school that brought me into the position today. So it almost made sense to get into this position. But what really, really took a turn is, it was funny. I left the $1 Million Club and I decided that I didn't want to do retail. My dad had passed away and things had changed in life, and I didn't want that responsibility anymore. So I went back to Nordstrom, which was my old stomping grounds. And I went back there and I, worked with some really amazing people that I worked with in my 22 years. And if they're on this podcast, I'm literally going to just share, I'd like to mention how thankful I am for Leanne and Amy Holmes, who's an amazing person that I worked with. Caitlin Murray, who totally taught me where I'm at today. Lisa Thompson. I could go on and on and on and on, but these people have helped me become stronger and where I am today. And after all of this happened, COVID hit, and I had to really rethink. Now, if you go back 1 year prior to COVID, I had reached out. I had seen Mark Z. And if you don't follow him, it's Sold by Mark Z. You guys got to get on there.
Oh, yeah.
Really, really cool. Have you guys?
He's a legend.
He's a legend, right? Okay, here's the crazy part. People don't know this. They're like, why'd you pick him? So I'll explain that in a minute. But my neighborhood, I live in Commerce. So he was my neighbor. He lived right across the street from me. So
very nice.
Him and his wife, we have kids that are very similar age. So when there was balloons on my mailbox, when I had my little girl, there was balloons on their mailbox, So we never really hung out with each other, but we saw each other. And later on, I stumped across his Instagram and I was driving to Traverse City. And I was telling my husband, I'm like, oh my God, I don't know what Mark's doing, but sounds like an amazing teacher. And if I get into real estate, I need to make sure I don't fail and I have a really good teacher, Yeah. So that was the biggest thing, because making a career change is hard, but you also want to have somebody who's going to teach you. So I direct messaged him and he said, hey, I'd like to invite you to my boot camp. So I went in, I was super nervous, walked in, saw the excitement, saw the energy, saw the team collaboration, camaraderie was amazing, culture. And I was like, you know what, this is where I want to work. So it motivated me even more to become an agent. So next year came COVID hit. And everybody at work was asked to go home. We weren't sure whether or not we were going to go back. And that just opened up a lot of window of time. And I got online and I took some online course and tried to take the test, went out, scheduled myself to take the test, and I failed it. I pretty much failed the test.
How did that feel when you were like, oh, I just did this and what just happened? I failed.
Freaking
most people do.
Heartbreaking. Yes.
And literally, anybody who called me that day, I was like, I just can't even talk. I want to throw up.
Yeah.
And it's they're like, well, it's just a real estate exam. It's not a bar exam. I get it, but it's not even
it's your career.
It's it's
your life.
What the hell? Totally. And you're thinking to yourself, okay, you just took this test and it wasn't even what you walked in thinking you knew, but it was the way they asked you this question. So I had to learning how the questions were asked. I decided to take the test again. And I scheduled it out and I was like, you know what? I'm such an in-person, so I decided to schedule some time to go in and I took an in-person training.
Nice.
And when I did, I was like, I'm walking in, sitting right in the front row, I'm literally blocking out everybody and I'm going to just listen. And then I bought this really cool exam called repasstest.com. So it was basically practicing for the test.
What was it called?
It was called repasstest.com.
Repass.
It's amazing.
Okay.
So if anybody's on here and you're listening, please purchase this. It's $99, repasstest.com, and give yourself a good month of each week and just take those questions, put those questions down. Basically, you'll go through the series of questions and you're training yourself to be prepared for the questions.
That's totally worth it. Because I think to retake it, it's $75 anyway. So, you know, might as
It was
well.
165 each time I took mine.
Oh, it's different.
Oh
North
my
Carolina.
gosh, yeah, it's definitely different in North Carolina.
Probably different out there. But yeah, so of course I walked in and I hit my last question, hit submit. My entire hands were rattling. My entire body was shivering. Like I was shaking.
Your heart beating out of your chest, and you feel like you're gonna throw up, and you're like just
right. You feel like you're gonna throw up. You don't know how you feel. You're like, is this really true? And then
tunnel vision. It's like everything goes. You just don't hear a single thing. I mean, it's quiet in there anyway, but you just don't see anything else except for that screen. And I think the worst part for me was there's a survey at the end, and I'm like, I don't just get. Did I pass? I'm like, sure. It's
Let
great,
me know.
10 out of 10. Just get me through this. I just don't know if I passed or not.
Right.
It's for your extended warranty.
Yeah. And you know what's so funny is like, okay, so I had already told my mom, my mother-in-law, my husband, and these are like the three, my sister-in-law. I was like, you guys, please, nobody blow up my phone. So they're all calling me, telling me the news. And then they're like, oh my God. So they're at home all celebrating because they knew how much it meant to me. So, you know, that
and
part
it's
is
hard.
It is hard.
Not
It's
very
tricky.
hard.
I would label it tricky, not hard. Because the way they ask those questions is just like, man, I don't know. There's two right answers, but one's the best answer. Like, so I think it's more of a tricky, but yeah, hard. That's just how I personally look at it. I was dumb too, and I told too many people, hey, I'm taking the test today. Put way too much pressure on myself. I was like, well, you better
pass it now.
Yeah.
Seriously. Alexis,
100%.
how many times did you take the exam?
3.
Since we're on the topic, I took it 3 as well.
Yeah, it took me
As
some
a
time.
national state was 3 times, and that second time, heart gut wrenching.
Yeah,
You told everybody, like Ryan said.
You're like, and the last time that I took it, because I did everything you guys all did too. Like I told everybody, I was like, I'm going to take my exam today. You know, like, woo, I'm a realtor. And then I walked out there and I was like, wait a minute, fail. I'm like,
what's that?
What does that mean?
Like the worst feeling.
What happens now?
Yeah, I'm like,
well, it says pass fail. It says pass fail. It doesn't even give you a percentage or whatever.
Letters and it has an
it's like, oh man.
I'm like, okay. I'm like, you don't need to rub it in. Like I know that I did pass.
Give you a red piece of paper.
Literally cussing out every single person who works at PSI.
Yeah,
you're literally walking out, literally throwing your bag. Once they give you your bag and your bottled water that you can't take in,
your locker, your key,
you're on the floor, and then you're like, fuck this.
Right. Well, I was trying to take the test, and the test lady who behind the glass, you know, the bulletproof glass or whatever, she was talking to her friend. Her friend was like Jerry Seinfeld or something. She was laughing the whole time, and I got bad ADHD, and I'm just like, seriously, lady? Like, this is like my career's on the line over here, and I got people, you know, pressure. I'm like, I was beside myself. I was so mad. I'm just like, and it was early on. I just started, and she was already going. I'm like, this is gonna be a long test. Like, I was so mad. So mad.
But I bet you guys all, like, don't you guys all feel like, in a way, it was like such a great thing that we did fail because you know what that feeling is, right? It makes you work so much harder. And in the beginning, you're like, okay, maybe this is not for me. But then you're like, you almost like, it makes you change your behaviors, cut things out that got in the way the first time. You know, you really narrow down what you want to do. And then you go in there and you just know when you can skim through those questions and you're able to get through all of it, you're like, you know what, this feels amazing.
I did it.
Yes, yes. And that's like the feeling that I think is super, like, I think it's like so important to even talk about that because in the real estate game, it's a roller coaster.
Mm-hmm.
It encompasses wins and losses and you have to be ready for all of it. And every loss is a
100%.
learning opportunity.
I was so happy. I got it. I was so behind me. The certificate.
You do. Oh my God, that's so funny.
It
It's
literally,
right
yep,
there. It
says
basically
pass.
goes together. It's like Ryan and certificate.
He's like, it's
That's your next
there.
photo session, right next
Yeah,
to
I
the
was like, as soon as I passed, I was like, I'm freaking framing this bad boy, and I did.
Does it have your little
100%.
picture on it?
That's what. Yeah, it's like a black and white. I'm in a hoodie. It was like January or whatever. Yeah.
That's
So,
funny.
it's funny. So I was just sharing a little, then once you pass the test, that next day, I was like, the only team that I want to work for is the Mark Z team, because I know I'm going to get the training that I need. I know he's going to support me. And then when I heard more about this EXP model, I got to tell you, it was a slam dunk. It was an easy fit, especially coming
Right.
in from Nordstrom, especially coming in from Nordstrom and Saks, where everybody gets to use your independent, flexible style of selling. It's almost like a perfect match, right? You
Right.
get into this EXP model and you're not, yeah, I do have a broker. Yeah, I do have a team, but I'm still allowed to use my own individual personality to drive my business.
Mhm.
And if that means creating a podcast, coming into a podcast like this, or creating a Sold by Renee J page that only encompasses me and what people are getting me, right? Banner if I wanted. These are all the flexibilities that this model allows me to do, which almost seemed like a perfect fit. So there was no doubt that the next day, October 19th, walked into Mark Z's office, signed up, and said, I want to be on the team, but I'm not going to start until January. I've got to walk away from my job. It's only fair to them because I was in leadership. My team needs me. We were in the fourth quarter, and it was of holiday retail. So just imagine. Yeah. And can you imagine if you walk up to your boss to say that you're going to leave in the middle of October and I'm leaving everybody?
Yeah, and they're like, what, when?
They would have
In 2
cried.
weeks? Yeah.
Right.
So,
So
like,
it
are you
just
putting in
wouldn't
your
have
2
been a
weeks?
deal.
Because what about Black Friday?
Right. What if, God forbid, anybody misses
Or
freaking
what?
Black
Well,
Friday.
wait, you were at Saks at that point, correct?
No, actually, so I had gone back to Nordstrom.
She went back.
Oh, so you were back
Yeah.
at Nordstrom. Okay.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
worked in the discount portion, which was the Nordstrom Rack.
Oh,
And
man.
Nordstrom then went into Nordstrom Rack. So these are I'm talking about unit intensified business, right?
Mhm.
Lines
Right.
all the way to the back, everything marked 25 to 50% off, craziness. So I felt that I was really attached to my team, and I was like, it's not fair. I don't want to leave them. And so I gave them 2 months notice, and I said, I'll take a week off with my family. We'll do something. And then I'll go hardcore into this business. And it's been a pretty amazing, and talk about what's really exciting is that I got to give a shout out to somebody. So when I started,
love it.
I know I have to give a shout out. Okay, so Chattapap, if you're on here, I don't know if you guys know Chattapap. Do you know him? Does anyone know him?
No.
Okay, so Chad is the first person on the team that took me under his wings. So
Aw.
when I started the business, I got one referral, which was amazing, closed on my first $600,000 deal in Plymouth. But that was just a referral that someone just handed to me and said, hey, take this
Wow.
person, and I couldn't believe it. I didn't even know what to do at that point. So then I'm like, okay, now what? I got my first deal. What do I do now? So I was constantly in the team chats going, hey, if anyone's available for a showing partner deal, please let me know. I hear crickets, nobody's responding. Do it again. Hey, everybody, I need a showing partner deal. If anybody's there, I'm available. Crickets again. So I get this side message from Chattapap, who's also on the team. Mind you, he's doing this part-time because he was running, he was a full-time employee who just walked away from his job too. And he's like, hey, do you want to go on a showing partner deal with me? I can show you what the ropes are like. And I'm thinking to myself,
Huge.
what's in it for this guy? Why is he asking me to do this? And then I'm not going to lie, I texted Mark Z and I'm like, is this guy me this? Give me the backstory. I'm not trying to go see a house with some random guy. He's like,
Yeah.
he's good. Don't worry. You're fine.
Oh my God, that's so funny.
So Chad probably doesn't know that I did that. So Chad, there you go. If you're on this and you're going back to watch it. So anyway, we end up going to this house and he totally shows me what it's like to, show somebody a house. And we totally clicked. We had such the same mindset when it came to business and service and all the different models. And he was running, he's a partner to the Bar Louie's, and he opened up Nashville, opened up other things. So he was a great mentor to me. And every step of the way, we started working on more and more deals together. And every single one of them, we learned so much from each other that he was learning at the same time I was learning. So I brought this up because that's the best way to start with someone, right? Find a mentor, find a person that you feel comfortable with or may not feel comfortable with, but take that first step and gravitate to somebody who knows either, you know, Kurt Shewell says this a lot, anyone who's either at or above your level. Those are the people that you want to surround yourself
At
with.
or above the level that you want to be.
Right. Then he says that all the time. And it's awesome, you know?
I love that guy.
So I'll let you guys keep asking.
I love it. Give it all.
So, yeah, no, it's so, I mean, with what you've done, you know, your history, and then rolling it over into real estate. My first question, I'll start and then we can go maybe to Jess and then down to Ryan and then back up. But my first question really is, what do you think, in your opinion? I mean, I have a history in retail as well. So what do you think, in your opinion, especially with Nordstrom, was the biggest thing that you brought over, aside from customer service,
Right,
more
yeah.
specific, that you brought over, that you've implemented with your real estate business?
So I think the biggest thing that there's so much, but I think what stands out to me is plan, prepare, and execute.
Love that.
Right? So plan, prepare, execute. And within those specific terms comes a lot of other great things, right? So a lot of other great things, like, for example, in order to plan, prepare, and execute and get the results that you need, you got to be able to have fun, which just create excitement around what you're doing. You know, as well as getting obsessed, loving what you do. I think having a discipline and consistency around what you're doing, right? So we all think about we're reaching a result. It's all about discipline and consistency, and repetition. When you can drive more attention to improve. I think the biggest thing too is relationship building. Relationship building is the biggest thing that I think I actually enjoy and think is the biggest part of driving your business. And when I say relationship building, it means be yourself. You know, show people the real side to you. Show them that, yeah, you know what? I don't know that information, but let me get that for you. Don't pretend. Don't be fake. Be honest. You got to be honest with people. Like, if you don't know, you know what? That's a good question. We're going to learn that together.
Yeah.
It's just, you know, it's a great question. The hell if I know.
That was
You know,
that was the thing all the time in retail. That's a great question. You know what? We're going to figure this out together. I used to say that all the time because
Right.
I'm so glad you asked.
Yeah, then you do your thing and you're running around the store together, and it builds that rapport, and they're like, this is fun. Then it goes from them having a serious question, and it breaks down that barrier a little bit, and it just releases the tension of it releases that mindset of, oh my God, I'm working with somebody and she doesn't know, she works here and this is what she does for a living and she doesn't know how to help me. It just breaks that down. You're making a little comedy about it. Right.
And it's so funny that you say that, Alexis. Like, so when I think of something else that I could bring, you know, that relationship building piece, it's the follow-up, right?
Right.
Follow-up. And in real estate, we all say the money's in the follow-up. The same thing. The money's in the follow-up. So I remember in one of my jobs, I was given this challenge, and the challenge was that, you know, this business, this designer department's going to fail. If we don't sell these vendors, we're going to lose them, and we've already earned them. So I remember telling my team that any single person that hits this floor, you're going to find out one personal thing about them, and we're going to notate it in our personal book, which is what we called our clientele base. And we're going to follow up with them on when they say. So if they come here and say, I'm looking for a dress for a party, we're going to notate that. And then when you call them, either they're going to say one of three things. They're going to either say, I love it, which deters the return. They're going to say, I'm going to bring it back. Great. I'll be here on that day so we can sell them something else. Or three, hey, I was actually looking at another top. Can you order this for me? So think about the volume that was driving through the follow-up piece. So when you take that into real estate and somebody tells you it's their birthday or it's their anniversary or the time frame that they're wanting to buy is not the right time, what are we doing with those people, and how do we go back and revisit them again and make sure that we stay in front of them? So it's interesting. If anybody follows me on my social media, I had recognized a story not long ago where 6 months ago I met a client, and every single happy 4th of July, happy Father's Day, happy Mother's Day. And then before you know it, we went out looking for a house in Novi, and we got an offer accepted for $550,000.
That's huge.
So it's really no different, right?
Right.
It's just the same. So the money is in the follow-up. So that is the biggest thing I can tell you, Alexis, to answer your question. I know I gave you a really long answer, but there was
I love it.
to bring over.
Yeah,
So.
no, that's absolutely huge. I love that. It's always in the follow-up. I mean, if you don't build a connection, this is the thing. People want to work with people that they like. It doesn't matter what industry you're in. You could be selling cars. You could be at the grocery store. And if you build a rapport with somebody at the grocery store and you're just the bag boy, which is a huge part in all grocery stores.
Right.
And it could be a little old lady and she walks down and she's going down the aisles, but she sees you at the end of one of those cash registers. She's going to go down that aisle because she likes you. It doesn't matter if there's a line. She's going to wait because she likes you. Yeah. So it doesn't matter what you do. If you don't carry a positive attitude, be yourself, remain true to yourself, and attract those people that are attracted to you and vice versa, and give great customer service and just be who you are, you're never going to keep people around. It's really hard to grow a business based off of not putting customer service first, truly, in my opinion.
100% agree with you. Yep. Couldn't agree more.
Absolutely. All right. So, customer service for one, absolutely agree on this whole thing. I have background, Chick-fil-A was one of my first jobs, and I worked restaurants, so having those wonderful relationships with people, bring them back to you 100%. But my question that I have for you, I'm a huge morning person, so I was wondering, what is your morning routine and how does that affect your full day and getting to those 12 closings? How did the morning affect that?
That's a great question. So I can tell you what my morning routine entails. So when I wake up in the morning, the biggest, most productive day for me is to wake up and hit the gym. Now, do I hit the gym every single day? No, we're all
right,
not always. It depends. If I had cake bread the day before, I'm not going to the gym the next day. But a really good day for me is what a typical day would look like. If I get a workout in, great. If I don't get a workout in, at 8 o'clock in the morning, I'm on the phones. So I should backtrack a little, because in order to be successful, one of the biggest things that I wanted to do is, because my paycheck was very, very important to me. And, I went from a salary paying job to moving into a commission-based job. So I needed to make sure that if I'm going to move into this world, I got to make sure I have a lot of money. And everyone knows me. I like a lot of expensive shit. I'm talking about handbags and shoes. Alexis and I have already talked about this.
We've talked about
Oh boy, here we go.
Yeah, I have a shopping problem.
So that's a whole nother podcast, by the way.
Yeah.
Chanel.
One I'm not going to be on.
Come on.
I'm kidding.
So yeah, Mark Z always says you guys work for the Chanel. So we laugh. I'm just kidding. For me, it's really about goal setting, right? I get more thrill and thrive when I can make a deal happen. And it's not even about the deal, when I can put a smile on somebody's face. That's the most rewarding piece of all of this. And Jessica, I didn't forget your question, but I do want to give kudos to Kurt Shewell, because Kurt Shewell sat with me, and I went to him and he did some planning with me. So the outline that I'm going to share is because this is what Kurt shared with me was the recipe to success. And that's what I've been following, which is why this is important. So when I went in and I spoke with Kurt, he said, how much do you want to, what's your goal? And he said, some people are like, I want to close 24 deals. Some people said, I want to be $1 million listing. Everybody had different goals. For me, it was about, I'm getting started. I want to make 6 figures this year. And he's like, okay, let's talk about that. So he drilled it all the way down to how many deals this was going to be and what I needed to do every single day when it comes to behaviors and activities that's going to lead to this. He has not disappointed me. This process, 150% accurate. So if you're on this, please take notes, because this is the best way to make it happen. So if you're going to get up and you're going to get in the morning, you're going to go do your workout, right? Go do your workout, do whatever it is that you love and enjoy prior to 8 a.m. So 7:30 every single morning, we have a role play call. And on that role play call, it involves Al Abdullah, Kurt Shewell, lots of experts that are on that call. And what we do is we role play. I have learned more in my
Oh no. Her audio cut out.
whatsoever. And in that, can you hear me?
Yeah.
You cut out for a second, but
yeah.
Okay,
I was
sorry,
gonna
guys.
say, is Sam Bazzi ever on that morning call?
I
have not heard him.
Oh,
He just joined. Where
right.
are you, Sam?
If you guys are familiar with who that may be.
Sam, I don't know. If you're on that call, Sam, we're going to pick on you the next time you're on that call. There he is, giving you lots of love.
He's like, no, I'm not on it. Yeah.
He's too busy making really
gym.
cool videos.
Yeah, he's at the gym making really cool videos. That makes me feel like I need to be at the gym.
Right. So let's go back to this magic formula that you were just getting ready to start.
Yeah, please.
So this magic formula, right? So 8 a.m., so 7:30 to 8, you're on these calls, right? And sometimes there's times where you don't want to jump in and do. It's the best thing that's ever happened. You're getting feedback, you're getting solutions, you're learning how to overcome obstacles, basically. And this is a listing call, so you're learning how to cold call to gain listings. So then 8 o'clock hits, and 8 to 11, you get on the phones and you make phone calls. And you use specific tools like Vulcan, Mojo, Zillow, and you go out there and you look for sale by owners, or you look for expired listings, right? So you're out there and basically you're using the script that Mark Z wrote himself and used. And then there are specific objections and how to overcome them. And they're always the same objections, right? So you just are memorizing these scripts. And again, we talked about discipline and consistency. If you are on those calls and you're doing the 8 to 11, and the more people you talk to, the more experience you get to learn how to overcome these. So you become really good. After 11, you stop what you're doing, something you love, wash the dishes, whatever. Do whatever. If you're working from home and you're at the office, take a break, go to lunch. Do whatever you need. Just take that break. Call your friends. Text anybody you want. But if anyone calls my phone today, you could hear my voicemail. And this was an Al Abdullah move, so thank you, Al Abdullah. That my voicemail says, between the time, if you're calling me between 8 and 11, I'm busy looking for buyers for my sellers and sellers for my buyers. It's literally written on there. So if anyone calls me, they know they can leave me a message and do not disturb. 12 o'clock gets in. Now, everything you do after 12 o'clock has now been dictated by what you were doing between 8 and 11. So the more people you talk to and you ask those specific questions, you'll have enough information to get you to set appointments from 12 to 4, 12 to 5. Maybe it's a 6 to 8. Maybe it's an after work appointment. Mm-hmm. And that's how you do that. Now, after 12 o'clock, you're also focused on follow-up. So you're going into your customer tool, jotting notes, following up, setting tasks. And if you don't have anything going on between 12 and 4, you could double up your cold calling, which the biggest feedback that Mark gave me in the beginning was, in the beginning, you want to make money, you're going to need to double up on your cold calling. So maybe in the morning, I spent it with my listings. I got defeated that I have Mark Z's team gives us. So that's kind of a typical thing. And I don't work on Sundays. If I do work on Sundays, it's a really good client. And the other great part about being on a team is that I use showing partners. So showing partners are big opportunities for us. Maybe I have an event that day, but I can split my commissions with somebody else by getting them to see the home. So that's a little bit about my scheduling, Jess. I know it was a long version, but there was a lot to where that stemmed from and where it is today.
I absolutely love that. Thank you so much for going such in detail. The boot camp that you keep referring to, I'm actually in my mind, I'm sitting here like, I'm going to have to come to Michigan and block out my time so I can sit through this whole entire boot camp. I want to absorb all of the information because you are so knowledgeable as a newer agent. It just blows me away. I'm honored to have you.
They have it on Zoom, just so you know.
Yeah,
it's not good
to say that.
But it's so hard.
You can join in on the boot camps. So anybody that's the best part about being cloud-based. You could actually join in anytime. So we can send you a link.
Yeah, anybody who's a new realtor, anybody who's a seasoned realtor, anybody who's thinking about getting involved in real estate, if you guys want to jump in, DM any one of our personal pages and reach out to us, and we'll get you that link and let you know when the next time. They do it about every 4 months or so is about when they do it. So, yeah.
I mean, guys, really, I just want to come see you.
Hey, we're not against that. Yeah, come on up. Come on up.
3 weeks.
We should really come down, but yeah, if you're nicer weather, but
Ryan,
yeah.
it's actually
Both.
pretty
Ryan,
nice
did you
here.
have any questions?
I do. So, if you were a newer agent, just for example, not nobody on this call, but if you're a newer agent, how would you recommend someone getting to up their price point?
To what do you
To get a higher
up their price point?
So like get into the more of a luxury market, starting out new.
So that's a great question. So you know how they say you are who you're friends with? Mm-hmm. I'm just kidding. So
hey, that's true though.
It's really funny. Whenever you do anything, it's no different. If you're dealing with people with a lower price point, you're going to attract that, right? So you have to be very strategic. It doesn't mean don't have these other different price points. It just means that if you want to get into a higher price point, you need to chase it. And what I mean by chasing it is, if you're using tools and you want to increase your paycheck, you have to go after that type of price point. But with that higher price point comes a more sophisticated client. So when you hit a sophisticated client, they're looking for a sophisticated realtor. So you have to ask yourself, what type of qualities and characteristics do I want to demonstrate in order to attract that type of client?
Yeah. And I love what you just said. Sorry for cutting you off, but I want to make a side comment before we go on to the next step. But I think that when it comes to that sophisticated agent too, or that sophisticated client, which I completely agree with, but I feel like one of the biggest things is past a certain point, that client doesn't have, number one, an emotional attachment to their home. It's an investment. So they're looking for somebody not only that's sophisticated and meets their standards of expertise and, the person that they are, but they're looking for somebody that they can conduct business with. That's what it's about for that level. It's completely different. Gone are the days of an emotional attachment, and you step into a different realm. So you really, in order to get to that point, you have to learn how to understand that aspect, and that can be really difficult for people. But I think that's one of the biggest key points as well.
I 100% agree, Alexis. I absolutely agree with that. And, I think Sam Bazzi put it in here, so we're gonna share what he said. Tap into the higher value market area. It definitely is the case. So what I started doing is when I met with Kurt, he said, who are your friends? And I said, he said, what kind of homes do they live in? And I said, the minimum is probably about 350,000 and it goes up higher. He said, well, think about it. When they move, what homes are they going to get into? They're probably going to get into $700,000 homes. They might go into bigger homes, right? So your sphere might take a while because, so Tina Call said this before. She said, your family and friends will not trust you until they know that you can prove yourself that you can convert strangers. So
Right.
focus on those smaller deals. Anybody who's starting, it's an experience. But once you're there and you're like, I'm ready for the next thing, tap into those higher market areas. And where you can do that is when you're looking at Zillow and you're looking at, MLS or Mojo or Vulcan. What you want to do is you want to go after those price points that you want to see yourself in, because that's where you're going to be the most passionate. You might feel the most excited about. Not long ago, I went to a listing appointment and I didn't get it. I went up against one of the highest realtors that's in our local community, and I couldn't even believe I was going up against her. I didn't get it. I didn't get it because, and I asked the person, what do you mind for my own personal growth, what I could have done differently? And they said to me, we actually are looking for somebody who has a really strong relationship with us. And they wanted to see a little bit more of a personal side, which I thought we did, but it wasn't enough. So they gave me that feedback.
That's huge.
So it was huge. And I was like, I'm glad you shared that with me, because I was going over, my listing presentation, and it sometimes becomes so cookie cutter that we have to know what our environment kind of feels like, and does it require that? I went to another listing appointment where they're pouring me Casamigos and we're walking all around the house and they're just showing me freaking the house.
Yes.
Right.
You got to roll with the punches, and if they ask you something to drink, you say yes.
Yes. Yes.
You just say yes. And, so to really speak to where your question is, I think, go after what you're most excited about. It's just like being persistent, right? For me, it was about dressing the part, looking sophisticated. I didn't have to be in expensive clothes, but I got to look bright. I got to look clean. I got to look refreshed. Your nails should look clean. Your dress should look good. Your presentation should be prepare appointment. You've got to come in looking polished. And when somebody does that, presence and appearance is the first step of what they see. And then after that, your personality is going to sell it. And, but as far as targeting, you want to target those price points. Just tap into those areas.
I love that. Thank you so much. I just got caught reading Sam. Sam, he wrote a paragraph there, so I was like reading it. Sorry. No, that's great.
Sam's
I appreciate that.
Wait, read it. What did he say? I think Sam should be on this podcast.
Networking is really great if you go to a Starbucks, which I just be around people. It's huge. And then
So that's really funny that you say that. So when before I didn't want to go out to all these other places, but like now that you get out and you see there's a dinner and you're at a grocery store, you get out, you're in front of people, they're associating you to what you do. And honestly, before you know it, they thought of you.
Yes.
Yep.
But I think the biggest thing too, when it comes to any clientele, like whatever you're trying to do, it doesn't matter, but remain true to yourself. Like we said from the very beginning, be your authentic, true self. That is the best thing you could ever possibly do. That's the best decision you could do for your business, because at the end of the day, you know that you're being you and you don't have to fake anything. You're just being you. And the people that are attracted to you and want to work with you will come and find you. You'll end up finding it. You'll find your way. And it's just worked exactly you would hope for Renee. I mean, and it works well for Ryan, and it works well for Jess, and it works well for myself. I mean, we are surrounded around the clients that we're supposed to be working with because that's who we are. And when you surround yourself around clients that you're supposed to be working with, the transaction is just so easy. Right? Because
way easier, because I've seen both sides.
Yeah. Where if you're working with a client that you don't typically work with, there's a little bit of troubled water where you're not really understanding each other. Your energy's different. Your interests are different. Your personality is different. You don't connect as well. But then when you meet that client and you're like, this is who I'm supposed to be working with, it's like fire's lit. It's insane. And it feels so good. So when you find that, harp on that and just run with it, because that's exactly where you're supposed to be.
Agreed.
Love it.
It feels so much better.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what do you want to talk about as far as growth? What are your goals? I want to talk a little bit about that too.
Yeah. So as far as growth and goals, not long ago, I got my first $4 million listing. And
Let's talk about that.
Yeah, I was my next question. I was like, I need to know about this.
Because I just realized that we're at 6. We're running. We have about 10 minutes left. So let's
And closing.
Cram that in.
Yeah.
So
$4 million
we're-
listing.
So it's really funny. When I got my first $40 million listing, I ran into a couple people that I know, and they're like, "Oh, how did you get that?"
Right.
Like through cold calling. So I did that through cold calling, and I did that where I stumped across a $1.7 million listing. It was and I contacted this lady, and the lady, I overcame every objection. Needless to say, we set up an appointment. And when I called her for the pre-qualification, she said, "Yeah, I really got to get this appointment going because I've got a couple houses I've got to list." So I said, "Okay." In my head, I'm like thinking to myself, couple. So I said, "Okay, what's the address?" So she gives it to me, and she says, after I got off the phone with her, I looked it up, and I'm like, this shit's $4 million. This fucking house. It was a 1.7, and now we're dealing with a $4 million. So
What's the third house?
Yes. So I end up saying to myself, my God, this is my first $4 million listing. I do not want to mess this up. So I actually contacted Mark Z, and I asked him if he would join in on my listing appointment. So he came in on a Sunday afternoon, and came into the office and had a chance to meet him. And what was really cool is that he pulled up in his Lamborghini. When he pulled up in the Lamborghini, they walked in, and the first thing they said is, "Whose Lamborghini is that?" And and I was like, "It's Mr. Mark Z's." And anyway, it was all about getting him there. Yeah, I was like, Mr. Mark Z's. They were a very sophisticated couple, a little bit older. And so we get into the room, and I felt that he needed to be there only because I felt like when you're dealing with that type of volume in a home, that he needed to be there because they needed to see the face of the brand.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I probably could have done it myself. No problem. I get it. But I felt
she would have loved you.
It was just so important to have him there. And when he was there, they felt special. They felt so great. And after, we made a deal, and we've now got I've got 2 of their listings right now. And they say they have plenty of more once they sell them.
Wow.
So
That's
this
amazing.
was a really great connection, and it was all from a cold call. We actually, with this came a luxury package. And now we're beginning a luxury package that Mark is starting, where it's including drone, video, all sorts of different stuff. And we're now working on some marketing material that goes with this. Mark said we're going to go out to the house and film, which if anyone visits my Sold by Renee J page, you could go in and see that video of the house that's at 5001 Middle Belt for $3.9 million right now. So you can actually see it. It's an amazing, amazing house. And I was scheduling private showings. So it's still going.
I'm curious, is he calling it the luxury package? Is that what he's going to do? Because I heard about it.
Oh yeah, we're actually doing this. So when we go out to listings and we talk about it, we're not going to just provide them with the regular. It'll be, you are $1 million and up, so you will be part of the luxury package. I
have one of those. Mine is called the Porsche package because my last name's Carrera.
I love it.
So that's super important too. If you're planning on working with a higher end market, you have to have all the right implementation and take care of these people because it's a different market. It's a different customer. They deserve the works. Give them the works. Call it the works.
I mean, a lot of people have an American Express card, and then they have the black American Express card. Then they have the one that weighs 500 pounds, right? So, and everybody feels more and more special how heavy their black card is. So it's that type of feeling, right? VIP.
So true.
It's just all about that feeling. So,
right.
Going into closing a little bit, because I know we're getting close to minutes. Goals. I've enjoyed luxury listings so much that my goal is to continue to move in this direction. Mm-hmm. It does not mean that I will not help people in other dollar amounts. I absolutely will continue this because I do believe that your best clients range between that 250 and 750 range. And I'll continue that. But I think what excites me because of my past experiences and running the $1 Million Club at Henry Ford Museum, at Nordstrom, and it was that higher end client. Mm-hmm. It's very exciting to be part of that, where especially someone who's sitting on that many assets can trust you with that. Yeah. So it's almost more about the thrill and really about what you can do and have somebody trust you with that. So my goal is to really move into $1 million listings. That's my ultimate goal. My other goal is to really work on attracting agents. And attracting agents into EXP and really being able to see the benefits and providing the benefits to them about what the EXP model can do, and how, a lot of my hashtags, you guys, are reach for the stars, don't let anyone hold you back, use your true potential. I bring that from a place because I felt held back. I felt that my potential was way further than it was. And whether or not the people I worked around agreed with me or don't agree with me, whether they do or don't, I felt very limited, and I felt that I was limited to a lot of things. I wasn't mobile. I couldn't move to another place. Maybe I left and came back, so there was people ahead of me. And that
while at the same time simultaneously having a sense of family. Financial freedom. Being able to retire. And we're running our own businesses. That's one of the things do we not deserve that as realtors? I think that's one of the biggest things, because gone are the days of we don't work for somebody. We're running our own businesses. We deserve to have financial freedom and ownership in a company that we represent, as well as representing ourselves, and have an opportunity to retire early and live our lives and not chase lockboxes for the rest of our lives. That's not what we're doing. We work our butts off, you guys, and we love what we do. So that's why EXP has been an incredible opportunity for all of us.
Well, that's the other thing. So, Alexis, I know I mentioned this to you over the phone, so I'd love for you to just speak a couple of minutes about, why EXP. So one of the things for anybody listening, because I want to get into agent attraction, I want to be in a place where Ryan, Alexis, and Jessica are today, where they are sharing knowledge with the rest of the world, so that they can see that there's opportunities to make money behind four walls and working in a corporate world. If you think that that's the end all be all, it's not. It's bigger, it's better, it's more exciting. But you have to be able to be someone that can push yourself farther. So I just wanted you to, Alexis, share a little bit about, why EXP is so special.
It's just so different. They're finally leveling the playing field. Somebody else's company. EXP actually promotes individual and independent agents. There's no other company that gives you the source of and feeling of being on a real estate team. Well, not being on a real estate team and not having someone else dig into your pockets more. You can have 80 to 100% of your commission earnings of your income while still having a source of an entire network of over 50,000 agents internationally. I could call, I have an agent in Paris, France. I could call him up and say, hey, he works in the luxury market as well. And I'm like, listen, I need to give me a little branding help. What are your thoughts on this? I can do that. No other brokerage is going to allow us to do that. And it's just, we wouldn't even be in this room. It's collaborating.
No, definitely not.
For the first time
100%.
ever, which is huge. How are we on time, Jeff?
So funny that you say
We have 1
that.
minute.
So
we have 1 minute.
We have 1 minute. Okay. So you guys, if anyone's interested, go ahead.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah, we can have you back on, no problem.
And we'll have you on.
Thank you so much.
It was a pleasure having you, and I'm so glad that you got to speak your word and tell your story, because I know you're super passionate about it. And congratulations again. You're an amazing person and just so kind-hearted and kind-spirited, and you're going to go to the stars. I'm so excited and happy for you. And if people want to reach out to you and talk to you about real estate, where can they find you?
So they can find me. So if you're on Instagram, go to Sold by Renee J. I'm on Facebook as Renee Jadan, so Jadan. There's a cell phone number. You can DM me. You can email me at renee@soldbymarkz.com. All of my contact information is on my Instagram page. There's a calendar link there. Just schedule.
Thank you.